Have all these efforts gone underway already?
Well on the way now. I mean, you may have heard about the launch of SERIS. SERIS is the Solar Energy Research Institute of Singapore. That will be a major research center that will be set up. That's being set up now at the NUS as well. That is one big component of the clean energy program. Now, another big component of the clean energy program is a competitive research program. We call it the Clean Energy Research Program. That has $50 million being provided to fund what we call competitive research projects. So this will be based on grant calls that will be issued periodically. In this case, the plan is to do it twice a year, whereby both academic as well as industry organizations can actually propose projects in the area of solar, initially in solar.
And apply for grants.
And it's a competitive grant. For the first round, we received something like 50 over projects. Proposals, yeah.
And have you awarded any yet?
It is being finalized now. What has happened with these 50 proposals is that they were sent for what we call peer review. Typically, we use a lot of international reviewers, partly because Singapore is so small. If you just try to restrict to Singapore reviewers, you get a lot of this cross, thing, and then there might be
it's a bit of incest there.
A bit of incest, yeah. So anyway, a lot of international reviewers were involved. Typically, we require at least three international reviewers for each proposal. Now, based on the feedback from the reviewers, about 2/3 of the project was shortlisted. And
that's a high number of shortlisted.
Still quite a high number. And then the program office convened what we call an evaluation panel meeting that met for 2 days and listened to all the shortlisted proposals. This panel consisted of both international experts in solar as well as some local decision makers from agencies like EDB, NEA, A-Star was involved as well.
When was this?
This was held just in March this year, just 2 months ago. So based on that panel, a number of projects were recommended for funding, and my understanding is that EDB is now in the stage of finalizing the scope and the funding for each of those projects that were recommended. This will be the first round of projects to be funded under this competitive research fund. So it is something that's happening in parallel with the formation of SERIS. SERIS will be a research institute. It will have its own activities, but this one will be a more competitive program that will still involve the universities and industry. And perhaps the interesting thing, at least from A-Star's perspective, is that this program actually funds industry as well. A-Star does not have a mandate to fund industry. Typically, when we work with industry, we fund our part of the research, industry funds its own part of the research, or industry can try to get funding from agencies like EDB or Spring or some other agency. So that is the mode of operation. Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at bioenergy, probably the most controversial of the renewable energy sources around the world today. Obviously, turning food crops into fuel seems like a bad idea now. But so what kind of crops are you going to use or what kind of agricultural feedstocks are you going to use to turn into energy?
Okay. From quite early on, A-Star's position was to focus on more sustainable approaches to development of bioenergy and biofuels. So that's one point. The sustainability can come in several ways. I think you have already mentioned the feedstocks. So we will try to focus on using non-food related feedstocks, in the sense that not that you can't use, for example, corn, but instead of using the corn itself, we are using the corn stover, for example, or
the non-edible parts of the corn.
The non-edible parts, And in addition, of course, there's potential to develop new crops or new plants or new materials that are actually not associated with the food chain at all, But certainly, agricultural waste, even based on food crops, can be used. But we are also looking at non-food crops, including things like jatropha and algae, for example. Those are two interesting feedstocks that we are looking at. But A-Star's focus is not so much really we do look at feedstocks, but the other area that we are very interested in is actually the conversion technologies.
Conversion technology?
Yeah, that means...
Can you go to the...
That means, for example, making the fuel out of the feedstock. That is the part that we are also focusing on. That means it's not just producing good feedstocks. The feedstock has to then be broken into oils or into alcohols, that can be converted into good biofuels that are suitable for use in cars, or, for example. So we focus a lot on the conversion technologies as well. And again, under conversion technologies, we are trying to aim for more sustainable approaches. For example, instead of a pure chemical process, for example, we are increasingly interested in biochemical processes. For example, instead of
put some catalyst in the...
Instead of using chemical catalysts, we use biological catalysts, for example. So enzymes are one example of catalysts that are being... Bacteria that can be used to break down the feedstock, instead of, for example, using acid or something like that. So things like that can be done in order to make the conversion process also more sustainable, and also make sure that we don't destroy certain elements in the feedstock that can be used for other purposes. In fact, at A-Star, we take the approach that the feedstock can be used for producing not just fuels, but also for producing useful chemicals and materials and even drugs and things like that. So the idea is to take this kind of a biorefinery approach, whereby you're using biomass as a feedstock.
How far are we away from setting up a biorefinery in Singapore? Of course, biodiesel plants are a form of refinery.
But that kind of integrated thing with various byproducts and useful products. Currently it's something that is fairly new in terms of, I guess we are more at a concept state rather than, I don't think I can give you a timeline, but certainly I don't think we are the only one looking at it from that perspective. I think there are many companies in this area that feel that is the way to go. So in our own research effort, for example, in some of our activities to produce, let's say, ethanol, to look at conversion technologies for ethanol, we are also thinking of some useful products besides ethanol that can be produced. And I think one of the examples is lactic acid as a useful byproduct of some of the processes that we are looking at. Yeah. So that is one approach. Yeah, that's quite important. So sustainability is very much in our mind to ensure that we don't have the kind of concerns that are now being expressed about bioenergy. Yeah.